Hi everyone, Roberto here, and welcome to Tailoring Talk, the solo edit number 1. The no BS, brutally honest take on the week in fashion, business, and whatever else comes across my workroom table. Yes, I'm Roberto Revilla, Bespoke Tailor, owner of Roberto Revilla London, makers of beautiful suits, gorgeous shirts, and even nicer shoes. And apparently now, YouTuber with opinions. Each week, I'm going to slice through the culture and fashion headlines, dig into a little style history, and share what's really been going on behind the scenes in my world of tailoring. If you're watching on YouTube, please do the usual. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that hype button. You'll find it just below this video window. And check out our channel memberships. And if you're listening to the audio version, please leave us a rating and review if your podcatcher allows. So welcome to my first The Cut of the week. And the fashion world has been busy this past week, so let's start with the big one. It's an end of an era for Hermes. After 37 years, Véronique Nichanian is stepping down as men's creative director at Hermes. 37 years, that's longer than most marriages these days. Hermes is one of my favourite fashion houses. Their design language, their craftsmanship, even when they make something as simple as a scarf, it's done properly. Now yes, their Apple Watch Hermes edition is absolutely ridiculous when you look at the price tag. But I'll forgive them because what Hermes produces in every department is consistently elegant and wearable. They've managed to stay luxurious without becoming costume, and that's rare in 2025. Apparently, Veronique's exit has been in discussion for a few years now, and true to form, Hermes handled it with absolute class, letting her choose the timing and go out on her own terms. But here's what worries me. A lot of these big legacy brands were built by people who worked their absolute socks off. Obsessive attention to detail, perfectionism, long hours, and craftsmanship over clout. And as we see generational shifts, I worry. The mindset's different. There's loads of talent, yes, but there's also a lot of, I'll do it tomorrow. Luxury just doesn't work like that. So Hermes now faces a test. Can they replace that kind of old school commitment with something modern but equally consistent? We'll see, but it's a tall order. Next up, Maria Grazia Chiuri returns to Fendi. Yes, she returns to Fendi as Chief Creative Officer. And I love this. It's a rare example of swimming against the tide. In a year where over 26 new fashion directors have debuted across the big fashion houses, seeing someone return to their roots is both nostalgic and super exciting. Maria is known for her modernist edge and unapologetic feminism. You can always spot her influence in design. There's structure, intellect, and purpose in everything her hand touches. Her coming back to Fendi after all these years feels like a huge statement. And it ties into something bigger. More women nowadays rising to leadership positions, both in fashion and in business. As company boards get more balanced, fashion must reflect that. We don't need more slogans about empowerment. We need the right people leading creative direction. And Chiuri is one of them. Now on to Vivienne Westwood and Riyadh Fashion Week. This one's a little bit tricky. Vivienne Westwood, or rather her granddaughter, Cora Corey, have announced that the brand will headline Riyadh Fashion Week. On paper, that sounds like global outreach, and I get where Cora's coming from, but I also get why some people are enraged. Saudi Arabia's human rights record, especially towards the LGBTQ+ community, is horrific. And yes, communication between cultures, as Cora states, is important. But how does a fashion show do that exactly? I don't personally see how parading clothes on a fashion runway changes government policy. If you really want dialogue, get politicians and leaders in a room and give them a proper telling off. Let's be honest, Saudi equals money, big money. Luxury brands see pound signs and can suddenly develop very, very short memories. Vivienne Westwood herself was an absolute legend. She had principles and she stuck by them, even when it cost her. So I can't help but feel a bit cynical about this move by Vivienne's granddaughter. It really looks like profit dressed up as progress, and that never sits right with me. Now on to Burberry. They've just dropped a huge cinematic campaign called It's Always Burberry Weather, starring the wonderful Olivia Colman and a load of moody London backdrops. It's very pretty, very British, and fine, it does get people thinking about their outerwear again, which is a must at this time of year. But here's my personal gripe. On the way to a wedding in Italy a few years ago, I had to buy a raincoat in an emergency at Heathrow Airport. Not liking many of the designs that I could see, I ended up in Burberry and fell in love with a Burberry trench coat. Almost choked when I got to the checkout and they told me it was 1,500 quid, to which I said, but then I don't pay VAT, right? And they said, no, sir, that is the tax-free price. So I begrudgingly handed over my Amex card and squeaked as I entered the pin. Now, I did absolutely love it. The design, the style, the colour. I got so many compliments everywhere I went, but it fell apart within a year. Buttons came loose, seams fell apart, the little loops for the back belt disappeared. And this was supposed to be a premium product. So unless Burberry have seriously improved the construction of their garments, they're still taking the mick out of customers willing to pay big money for weak build quality. Let's hope this new weatherproof collection actually survives the weather. And finally, something positive. Restyle, a fashion show where designers get a chance to showcase designs where they take something old and give it a new lease of life. I absolutely love this concept, sustainability that isn't preachy, but super creative. It's very close to what we do in our workroom. Clients often bring in very sentimental pieces, something from a late parent or a grandparent, and we rework it. In the past, we've even taken several sentimental garments, salvaged the best parts and put them together to create something new. It's meaningful, personal, and it stops waste. Fashion is the second most polluting industry on the planet. So seeing established and emerging designers joining the movement to reuse, recycle, and reinterpret gives me hope. This is how luxury survives, by evolving responsibly. That's the headlines all stitched up. Now, let's step back in time. So let's talk about something timeless. Tweed. As the weather turns, everyone suddenly remembers that they own jackets. And tweed, for me, is autumn and winter in fabric form. Tweed started in the 19th century in Scotland and northern England, originally called tweel, meaning twill. It was a mistake by a London cloth merchant that turned the word tweel into tweed, and the name stuck. It was never meant to be fashion. It was practical. Farmers, gamekeepers, countrymen, they needed warmth, wind resistance, and durability. In tweed, you could get rained on all day and still look respectable. Then the upper classes adopted it for country estates. Shooting jackets, +4, suddenly tweed went from practical to posh. By the 1920s, Chanel was cutting tweed for women's suits, and Harris tweed became protected by law, hand-woven in the Outer Hebrides and all that. Fast forward to now, and tweed is everywhere again, but reimagined. Slimmer cuts, lighter weights, and wild colour blends that would make a gamekeeper faint. What I love is that tweed has this strange dual personality, rugged and refined at the same time. You could wear tweed to a country pub or, in the right colour, a city boardroom and still look right. At the studio, we're seeing clients order more winter tweed casual jackets, and even requesting the fabric be used in bomber jackets and overcoats. But we infuse modern touches like softer construction, lighter weight linings, and side tabs on tweed trousers instead of belt loops. And that's the key. If you're going tweed, don't go full costume. Pair it with modern textures. Jeans, chinos, and yes, even tailored joggers in the right fabric if you must. Let the fabric be the statement, not the stereotype. Tweed survived every single style apocalypse for a reason. It's built to last. Which, funnily enough, brings me to something I learned the hard way this week. Now, this is our third and final section for the solo edit, Diary of a Tailor, where I share some stories and anecdotes from my last week and my private world in the business of tailoring. And this week, I want to share with you a shoe size revelation. You know, when you think you've got yourself pretty much figured out, you've been on this planet for decades, you run your own business, you dress other people for a living, you'd assume you'd at least know your bloody own shoe sizing, right? Well, apparently not. For the last year or so, I've been hobbling around with what we suspected is plantar fasciitis. Horrible pain in the heel, stabbing when I get out of bed, that sort of thing. I've tried stretching, rolling my foot on a ball, different insoles, nothing fixed it. Then recently I started working with a brilliant osteopath called Liam Bell, recommended by my good friend and client Owen Griffiths. And within just 2 sessions, he'd made more progress than months of me limping around pretending that everything was fine. But here's the kicker, literally. We re-measured my feet at the workroom properly, the way that we do for our customers, and it turns out I've been wrong about my shoe size for the last few years of my adult life. All this time I've been wearing a UK size 11. I've been wearing a UK size 11 since the age of 11 because I've been 6 foot since then. I was an unnaturally fast-growing child. But having re-measured my feet properly, it turns out I'm a UK 12, which is an EU 47, which is a US 13. No wonder my feet have been screaming at me. So we made up a pair of Derby shoes in my actual size. Same last, same leather, just the right measurements this time. And suddenly it's been like walking on clouds. My gait's changed, the pain's easing, and I cannot believe how long I put up with that nonsense. Here's the thing that most people don't realise. Wearing the wrong size shoes doesn't just hurt your feet. It can mess with your whole posture. Get your shoe size too small and your toes jam up against the front. You can end up with blisters, bunions, corns, nerve compression, even back pain. Get your size too big and your heel slips with every step. That creates friction, calluses, and puts extra strain on your calves and knees because your muscles are constantly trying to stabilize you. And both extremes throw off your natural alignment, which can trigger hip, knee, and lower back pains further down the line. The stats are nuts. Podiatrists estimate that up to 70% of people are wearing the wrong size of shoes, usually too small. Because sizes vary between different brands, we always assume, like I did, oh, I've always been an 11 and we never check ever again. Here's my advice as a tailor and a bloke who's just learned the hard way. Get measured properly at least once every couple of years. Your feet can change over time. Weight, age, injuries, even how much you walk or stand can affect your arch and width. Try on both shoes and walk properly in them. If you can feel your toes brushing or squeezing up at the end, they're too small. You need about ½ an inch of space. And if one foot's slightly bigger, which it is for most people, size up for the larger foot or seek out someone who can make odd size shoes. And here's a tip for you, check out robertorevillalondon.com because we can certainly help you with that if you're one of those people that suffers from noticeably odd sized feet. Comfort is not a luxury, especially when it comes to your footwear. It's the foundation of style. If you're limping throughout your day, you can be wearing the most beautiful bespoke suit and still look uncomfortable, and people notice. So yeah, this week's lesson from the Diary of a Tailor: know your size, trust your feet, and don't let ego get in the way of comfort. I thought I was an 11, turns out I'm a 12, and life is much, much better for it. Before I forget, we also hit a couple of major milestones on the YouTube channel. We now have over 2,200 subscribers at the time of recording, and in the past month we hit over 450,000 views. And we've officially broken our best year ever record in the business with still a couple months to go, which is amazing and exhausting. I'm basically a near middle-aged, knackered tailor with slightly bigger shoes and a lot to be grateful for. And that's it for this week's Tailoring Talk, the solo edit. If you enjoyed the show, please hit subscribe, like, and hit the hype button below your video window. And if your podcatcher allows, if you're listening to the audio version, please do leave us a rating and review. This all helps the show immensely And on YouTube, you can also check out our new channel memberships to help the show further. If there's something you'd like me to talk about on a future episode, a fashion trend, a question, or simply a rant, drop me a comment or DM me on Instagram at Roberto Revilla London. Next week, I'll be diving into more stories from the world of fashion, sharing some more style history, and revealing some more insights and secrets from my world as a bespoke tailor here in London. Until then, stay sharp, stand tall, and for heaven's sake, wear shoes that fit you. I'll see you on the next one.